Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Siti Aisyah. I'm from 1A class Indralaya. So, on this video, I would like to explain the material about Basic English Grammar's book by Betty. So, I'll tell you about chapter 1 until chapter 10. So, enjoy! Chapter 1, Using be and have. This chapter is about the basic and essential use of the verbs be and have in English grammar. These are fundamental elements of the language and are used in many different sentence patterns. Here's a breakdown of what the chapter covers. The first vowel, noun plus is plus noun, is singular. This section explains how to create sentence to describe or define singular nouns. For example, this is a book identifies one object, while he is a student describes someone's role or identify. Next, noun plus are plus noun is plural. Here you learn how to describe plural nouns such as these are apples or they are students. Next, pronoun plus be plus noun. This focuses on using pronouns like I, you, he, she, we, and they with the verb be. For example, I am a teacher, you are my friend, or she is a doctor. Next, contractions with be. This part introduces short forms of be to make sentence more casual and conversational. For example, he is becomes his, we are becomes were. Okay, negative with be. This section explains how to make negative sentence with be. For instance, she is not at home or she isn't at home. Next, be plus adjective. Be plus adjective, you will learn how to use be to connect subjects with adjectives. For example, the sky is blue or they are happy. Okay, next is be plus location. This explains how to describe where someone or something is. For instance, she is in the kitchen, they are at school. Next, summary of sentence patterns with be. This section provides a recap of different sentence patterns using be for statement, negatives, and question. Yes or no question with be. You learn how to form yes or no question using be by changing the word order. For example, is she a student or are they at home? Next, question with be using where. This part focuses on forming questions about location. For instance, where is the book or where are your friends? Next is using have and has. This introduces the verbs have and has to show possession or ownership. For example, I have a car or she has a new bag. Next, using my, your, his, her, our, their. Here, you learn about possessive adjectives that indicate ownership such as this is my pen. By understanding the use of be and have, you can describe people, place, and objects more clearly. Additionally, the chapter teaches how to use possessive adjectives like my or their and demonstrative pronouns like this and those to specify and identify things. The ability to form questions using be or have also helps in asking for information or clarifying details. In summary, Chapter 1 introduces the fundamental rules of using be and have in English. These verbs are essential for forming sentences, describing people or things, asking questions, and expressing possession. The chapter emphasizes proper sentence structure for both singular and plural forms, the use of contraction, and how to form negatives and questions. Chapter 2, Expressing Present Time, Part 1. This chapter focuses on how to express action, routines, and facts in the present using the simple present tense. It also introduces frequency adverbs, spelling rules, and specific sentence structure to describe present activities accurately. Here is a detailed explanation of the section in this chapter. Okay, first, From and basic meaning of the simple present tense. This section explains the structure of the simple present tense sentence and their basic meanings. It focuses on habitual actions, general truths, and facts such as I work every day or the sun rises in the east. Next, using frequency adverbs. Words like always, usually, often, sometimes, seldom, rarely, and never are used to indicate how often something happens. For example, she always eats breakfast. Okay, next, using frequency adverbs with be. For example, he is always late or we are never tired. Next, pronunciation of final S or Z. This part teaches how to pronounce the final S sound in verbs, which changes depending on the preceding sounds. For example, runs is pronounced with Z, runs, runs. Next, spelling and pronunciation of final S. It covers rules for adding S to words ending in sounds like ch, s, s, x, and z, as in watches or passes. Next, summary. Spelling and pronunciation of S and is. The summary. Chapter 2 provides an in-depth understanding of how to express present actions, routines, and facts using the simple present tense. It highlights the use of frequency adverbs, spelling rules for verbs ending, and how to form negative sentence and questions. The chapter also includes useful expressions to talk about time, weather, and habits. Chapter 3 Expressing Present Time Part 2. This chapter focuses on the present progressive tense and how it differs from the simple present tense. Okay, the first one, be plus ing, the present progressive tense. Explains how to form the present progressive using be and verbs ending in ing. For example, I'm studying right now, or they are playing soccer. Next, spelling of ing, dropping the final. Example, make to making. Next, the present progressive questions. For example, what are you doing? Or is she working today? Non-action verbs not used in the present progressive explains that certain verbs know, believe, like are typically not used in the progressive tense. This chapter emphasizes the correct use of the present progressive tense to describe ongoing action or temporary events. It highlights key verbs, sentence structure, and grammatical. Chapter 4 Nouns and Pronouns. This chapter provides a detailed explanation of how to use nouns and pronouns in English. This section teaches the difference between subject nouns who or what performs the action and object nouns who or what receives the action. Example, the dog is subject, just the ball is object. Next, adjective plus noun. For example, a beautiful flower and an old book. Explains how the adjectives are used to describe nouns. Okay, this page explains subject pronouns and object pronouns and nouns singular and plural. And this page explains nouns, irregular plural forms, and nouns, can and non-can. This chapter explains the different types of nouns and pronouns and their usage. It covers singular and plural nouns, irregular plurals, can and non-can nouns, and how to use articles like a, and the. Chapter 5 Expressing Past Time. This chapter focuses on how to express events or actions that occur in the past. Okay, first, using be in the past tense. This section explains how to use was and were to describe states or conditions in the past. For example, I was at the park yesterday. Next, past of be to negative. This part covers how to form negative sentence in the past using was and were. Examples, I was not or I wasn't late for class. past of be, two questions. Explain how to create yes or no questions in the past using was and were. Example, were you at school yesterday? Okay, next is the simple past tense using at. For examples, she worked hard yesterday, or we played football last weekend. Okay, next is past time words. Yesterday, last, and ago. For example, I visited my grandparents 2 weeks ago. Next, pronunciation and spelling of at. Explains the three ways to pronounce the at ending in regular verbs t, d, and ed. For the example, talk, played, and wanted. This chapter provides a comprehensive guide to using the past tense in English, focusing on regular and irregular verbs, negative sentence, and various types of questions. This chapter introduces ways to express future actions or events, including the use of be, going to, will, and other structures. First, future time using be, going to. For examples, I'm going to visit my aunt tomorrow. Next, word used for past time and future time. For example, I'm going to leave in a couple of minutes. Next, using will and questions with will. For example, it will rain tomorrow. For the questions is, will you come to the meeting? When will they arrive? Okay, chapter 6 provides tools to talk about future events using various structures such as be, going to, and will. It also includes detailed explanation of the time clauses, conditional sentence, and question forms. Chapter 7 Expressing Ability. This chapter focuses on different ways to express abilities, capacities, and possibilities in English. It covers modal verbs, adjectives, and phrases that help learners articulate levels of ability or permission. First one, using can. Examples, I can swim. You can finish the project by tomorrow. Using can as a questions for the examples, can you play the guitar? Or what can we do to help? Okay, next, using know how to. For example, I know how to bake a cake. Next, using could past of can. For example, she could run fast when she was younger. Chapter 7 covers the essential ways to express ability, focusing on modals like can, could, and be able to. It also includes variation with to and enough for emphasizing quantity or degree. Chapter 8 Nouns, Adjective, and Pronouns. This chapter focuses on the role and usage of nouns, adjectives, and pronouns in English, helping learners understand how to modify and combine them in sentence. Okay, first, modifying nouns with adjectives and nouns. For the example, the tall building, or she gave me a birthday gift. Next, word order of adjectives. For the example, she bought a lovely new blue dress. Okay, next, expression of quantity, one of or none of. For the example, one of the books is missing, or none of them are available. Next, using every. For the example, every student must attend the meeting Zoom. In summary, Chapter 8 explains the core elements of nouns, adjectives, and pronouns. It covers how to express quantity, possession, and how to form complex noun phrases using modifiers and pronouns. This chapter explains how to compare two or more objects, people, or ideas using different structures and expression. It focuses on the proper use of comparatives, superlatives, and other tools to draw similarities and differences. First, comparisons using the same as, similar to, and different from. For examples, this book is the same as that one. Next, comparisons using like and alike. For the example, he looks like his brother, or the twins are very alike. Next, using but. Explains how to use but to contrast ideas in a sentence. For the example, he is talented but lazy. Next, using verbs after but. Details how verbs function in sentence with contrasting ideas connected by but. For the example, she wanted to leave but stayed to help. In summary, Chapter 9 provides a comprehensive guide to expressing equality, superiority, and inferiority when comparing people, objects, or ideas. The last chapter, or Chapter 10, expressing ideas with verbs. This chapter focuses on using verbs to express various ideas such as obligations, recommendations, progress, and time relationships. First of all is using should. Teaches how to use should to give advice or suggestions. For the examples, you should study more for the test, or he should apologize. Next, using let's. Explain the use of let's for making suggestion in the first person plural form. For the examples, let's go to the park. Next, using have to or obligation. Covers the use have to express necessity or obligation. Example, I have to finish this project by tomorrow. Next, using must. Discusses must as a stronger form of obligation or necessity. Examples, you must wear a helmet while cycling, or we must respect each other. Next, modal auxiliaries. Provides a summary of modal verbs can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, and their use. For the example, he might be late due to traffic. Next, summary chart, or the last one, material. Modal auxiliaries and similar expressions. Display a chart summarizing modal verbs and their. For the summary, Chapter 10 dips deeply into verb usage, covering both simple and complex verb forms for expressing time, actions, and obligation effectively.